meeting of the East Long Meadow Conservation Commission. At this time, I need to ask if anybody in the viewing audience is recording this meeting. If so, please raise your hand so you can be recognized and identify yourself. Got nothing, Ryan? All right, I guess we're good to go. First item is approval of the May 13th amended minutes. Yes, we have a quorum here for that. I'll entertain a motion to approve the May 13th minutes as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All right, we need to do the roll call votes again. Francis,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Tom,
Here.
is that a yes?
Yeah, I approve. I approve of the minutes.
Yep. Aaron,
Yes.
and I approve them also. Oh yeah, Aaron, you had to abstain. That was the one you weren't here for.
Oh, whoops, sorry.
That's okay, I forgot to. All right, but that's still 4, we got it, all right. Now approval of the May 27th minutes. I didn't have any changes for those. Did anybody have anything for those?
No, I'm good.
No.
Yep. I'll entertain a motion to approve the May 27th minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, Francis,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Tom,
Aye.
Aaron,
Yes.
and I'm a yes also. June 10th, I'd like to just move that to the next meeting. I didn't review those yet. So I'll entertain a motion to move the approval of the June 10th minutes to our next meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Francis,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Tom,
Aye.
and Aaron,
Yes.
and I am a yes. Next item on the agenda is a certificate of compliance request for 141 Country Club Drive. Jeff, Tony, and I were out there yesterday with Felipe from Arlovesc. Essentially, this house is out of our jurisdiction. According to the order of conditions, there was no restrictions put on the house. There's no permanent limit of work markers or anything like that. So, like I said, it's non-jurisdictional. So I will entertain a motion to approve the request for a certificate of compliance for 141 Country Club Drive.
I'm sorry.
So-
Sorry, it's not on our agenda.
It was on the new agenda, Francis.
I just got it in the mail this morning, so it's a different one?
Yes, I emailed an updated one. I think either
Oh,
yes.
after you've mailed it. Okay, sorry, I got the wrong one then. Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Francis,
Abstain. I'm not prepared for that one.
okay. Jeff,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes, it's on our jurisdiction.
Aaron,
Yes.
and I am a yes also. The next order of business that's on the agenda was the WPA Enforcement Order 1 for Hidden Ponds.
Yep.
I haven't been out there. We haven't had any rain, really nothing to see there. I did see the new erosion controls prior to the last meeting. The only thing I had as a question was I sent Mr. Joyce an email because it appears to me that the response from GZA, the erosion control specialist that he hired, was not complete. You know, it started out with an opening and then there were some pictures. There was no close to it or anything like that. I did request from Al that he send us the completed response from GZA and he hasn't responded. I guess the only question I have is, do we want to send him a letter to ask to have the completed, the full document sent to the commission for the records, or we just want to let it go?
I recommend we get the full report from GZA.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
All right. I don't believe that's anything we need to vote on. So Bethany, could you draft a letter stating that and send it to Mr. Joyce?
Sure. I believe Mr. Joyce is in the audience tonight. But I can still send the letter if you'd like.
Yeah, I guess I would just like to, for the record, have it in the record and send the letter out. I don't think there's anything really further to discuss. The next item was for lot 3. There's really nothing to discuss with that one either. So we can just move on from that. There's nothing new with that lot also. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing for a request for determination of applicability for 144 Maple Shade Ave. Jeff, if you could read the notice into the record, please.
East Long Meadow Conservation Commission public hearing in accordance with Mass GL Chapter 131, Section 40. The East Long Meadow Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on June 24th, 2020 at 6 p.m. via Zoom. Join the webinar at https://eastlongmeadowma.zoom.us/j/89628205-705 ?
Thank you. Mr. Bednaz in the audience? If so, please raise your hand.
Can you see us?
Yep. Okay, please explain the RDA to us.
All right, I'm Mike Bednaz. This is my wife, Melissa Bednaz. We recently bought a house here on 144 Maple Shade, and our request for determination of applicability is based on some events that took place, actually starting with the first event, March 30th, when on March 30th, we noticed that there was water that was leaking into our basement. And we noticed that first through the finished floors that are in our basement. And so that's when we started the process of trying to figure out where the water was coming from. So on April 1st, we ripped up the floor in the basement and saw that there was standing water that was getting in. It was evident through the wall at the back of our house. We then, on April 1st and 2nd, had contractors come out and assess the problem. Both contractors that we saw gave us a quote for the fix, which they said was going to be installing drains on the interior of the basement walls. However, on April 9th, so 8 days later, it rained, and we were actually able to see water physically entering the basement through only one corner of the wall. It was at that time that we discovered there was a large crack in the foundation wall where rainwater was able to seep through the wall and get into the house. So on April 9th, in order to fix this problem, I got a hold of my dad, who is Stephen Bednaz, owner of Bednaz Excavating Incorporated in East Granby, Connecticut, discussed the options on how to fix that problem. And we assessed that we needed to excavate along the foundation of the wall on the exterior of the house and seal the crack from both the inside and outside. So on April 9th, I got a call before you dig permit, emergency permit for that. And on April 10th, correction, that's April 11th. We first started the excavation along the exterior of the foundation wall. As we dug along the foundation wall to uncover the crack, it went all the way from the top of the wall down to the footing. It was at that time that we found that there were also pieces of clay footing drains that looked like they appeared to be original drains from about the 1960s era that were filled with sediment, which was at that time determined to also be a causal factor for the high water table that was leaking water into the house. So by April 12th, we had completely sealed the crack, both interior and exterior on the house. And we had also replaced all of the clay piping that was filled with sediment with new PVC piping. In addition to tying in the gutter drains, which are on the back of my house. The gutter drains were not properly draining. They were filling up with water as well due to sediment. So with those three things replaced, we filled in the trench on April 12th. And 3 days later, I began a 8-day long tour where I was required to stay at work as part of my job with the Air Force for the alert there. So 8 days later, I got back home and continued the next part of the project, which was to properly grade the elevation of the backyard to pitch water away from the house, as opposed to the way that it was when we first bought it, where water would settle in one corner of the house. So by April 25th, we had that completely finished, and it was about another 2 weeks after that before we were actually able to put seed down due to the constant rain that we were getting. The land was too wet. However, at this point now, where we stand is that the lawn has fully grown in, and we are completely finished. There's nothing else to do. The boundaries of the backyard have always remained the same. So for us, it was just that sealing of the crack, interior, exterior, and replacement of the clay footing drains, as well as replacing the gutter drains, which were not properly draining, and the grading of the backyard. And all that is finished, and happy to say that we're actually getting a lawn back now, so no more dust or mud.
Okay, thank you. Before we go much farther, Tom, I just need to check, were you going to recuse yourself from this?
Well, no, because given all the emails that have transpired, I'm involved. So at this point, given the way this thing's played out, I met Mr. Bidnaz, well, around the first date he mentioned, March or April. And as it turns out, he is my neighbor. But given the way this is transpired, I'm gonna stay involved for this one.
All right. Comments from the board?
Can you hear me? Tom?
I can hear you, Tony.
Great. Oh, okay, I'm on then, all right? I didn't know if I was on.
Yep, you're in.
Okay.
Okay, great, thank you.
No comments, Tony?
At this point, no.
Jeff,
Comments?
oh, sorry. Jeff, can you describe, these pictures are kind of hard to see. It says you did a site visit and you sent photos. These.
Those photos were actually taken by Craig after the, or when the work was being done, or close to when it's being completed.
Yeah,
The photos that we have on file were the initial photos that I took prior to any work being done.
mhm.
And I don't know if those files or those photos are available for this or not. They weren't included in the packet
Okay,
to kind of tell the before and after, but I believe everybody was sent the original photos a while back.
okay.
The other comment that in the scope of the legality of Tom staying in, since Tom is a direct abutter, I believe he has to recuse himself, but you can correct me if I'm wrong there, Craig.
To the best of my knowledge, that was the case also.
Yeah, well, here's why I'm going to stay in, because the emails that have transpired have slanted the board. All right. So if I'm going to recuse myself, there's other members that should be recusing themselves, because this whole thing has been slanted. And without going into detail, I'll just leave it at that.
Whole thing is slanted. Is that it? Just so I want to be sure I got that correct.
That is correct.
Okay. Any other comments from the board? Because I guess I'll go, I'd head with a few of them. The reference in the filing pertains to the stormwater exemption. But what that is not for this type of projects. It's for construction of new homes. It's really, in my opinion, not applicable to this. But what I really think we need here is there's a description of grading changes that was done. There was drainage work that was done. Also in the RDA, there was a patio mentioned in there. And when we were out there on site visits, there was also a shed mentioned, or a shed where some gravel was put in where a shed was going to be. What I think we really need to see here, or what I would like to see, is a site plan. And also, in my opinion, I haven't checked it or delineated it, but I believe pretty much the 100-foot buffer zone goes right up to the house. It's either in the house or just short of the house. And Michael, this is what we need. I would like to see on some sort of a drawing, so we know what was done for grade changes, and what you've done with the drainage with these PVC pipes, and that sort of thing, and where they are exiting and discharging to.
Okay. And is that something that, like as I mentioned, with the work that we completed, due to my dad, Stephen Bednaz, being the owner of Bednaz Excavating, I had the tools available to me to complete the work myself. So there weren't any submittals, on drawings prior to the project taking place, so we can draw where things stand right now. But as far as going back in time for original drawings, we wouldn't have that information.
As far as I'm concerned, it's difficult for us to approve something when we don't have some details on what's done. And frankly, this project is borderline, whether a request for determination is okay. The commission could make a determination that no, a notice of intent needs to be filed for this work, which is much more expensive. Extensive, I mean, not expensive. And and we need to have something to approve a patio. We don't know how big it is, and we've got a picture of it, but did it stay that big? Did it get bigger? Is it concrete, or what are we doing there? That's just my opinion on it. And any other board members?
Okay.
Francis?
Yes, I would like to make sure that the plan includes the placement of the patio And also, if there is a shed, the location of the shed, since the property is within the 100-foot buffer zone. So we will need that before, at least I would need to see that before I could go any further. Thank you.
Craig,
Go ahead, Tom.
so I'd like to point out that everything that was done, all the work was done in the parameters of his yard. And that has not changed. His yard is still the same. It's grown back. There's been no impact on the wetlands whatsoever. He corrected drainage for his house. He installed a patio and a shed, which is things that we come across all the time. So if you require drawings from him, I would make a motion to continue this hearing until the next meeting, and he can provide drawings showing the drainage system as installed and the shed and patio as they're going to sit.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to extend this meeting, this hearing into our next meeting in order to receive drawings from the applicant. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
Not at this time, but at the time that I submit the drawings for the next meeting, would I also be able to address the, I believe that there is an exemption. I just want to make sure that before I misspeak, in the 310 CMR 10.02, I believe one of the exemptions for work in the buffer zone is for those areas that you're converting into a patio. I'm happy to submit the drawings, but that was not included in my original determination of applicability because at the time of that submittal, I didn't know that when or if a patio was even going to be installed in the near future. So will I have an opportunity at the next meeting when I submit the drawings to address the issue of the patio as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. All right, motion's on the floor and been seconded. Any further discussion?
Craig,
Yes, Tony?
Craig,
Yeah,
I would like to suggest that once we get the plans on what he wants to do in his backyard, I'd like to have another site review. Go over to the property and just double check it.
okay,
I can also submit pictures if that helps.
okay. All right, motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All right, need to do the roll call vote. Francis?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
And I am a yes also. Okay, thank you very much, Mike and Melissa, and we'll see you at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving forward. Next item on our agenda is an amended notice of intent for Robin Street and Smith Avenue. Jeff, if you would, please.
East Long Meadow Conservation Commission public hearing in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 of the East Long Meadow Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on June 24th, 2020 at 6 p.m. via Zoom. Reference case number NOI 2020-4, amended notice of intent for Robin and / Smith Avenue. Assessor's parcel ID 3B-62-131 for alteration of grading and proposed single-family home within the 100-foot buffer zone on a 0.23 plus/minus acre site. Applicant Ralph Kapua, 72 Prospect Street, East Long Meadow, Mass. 01028. Information relating to this application is on file for public inspection at the Office of Planning and Community Development, Town Hall, 60 Center Square.
Thank you. Brian, I believe the applicant is in the audience. Perhaps there is also Mike Mako, an engineer for Mr. Capua.
Please raise your hand if you're in the audience.
Oh, Mike,
Hello.
is Ralph out there also, Mike, do you know?
I think he was going to try to be out there.
Okay. If you would like, you can proceed. But before you do that, excuse me, Mr. Cassidy,
Yes,
you're not with the applicant. You're here for public comments, correct? Correct?
right, correct.
Okay. All right. So, Brian, he can't be speaking at this point until we open it up to the public for comment. Thank you. Hello, Ralph.
Hello.
Take it away, gentlemen.
Okay, I'll start out with the changes. I was given a change of house footprint and a requested review of the grading to go with the footprint. That was accomplished with Anderson Associates submitting a new site plan showing the new house footprint and grading. And to that, I did a second drawing as part of the amendment, adding the infiltrator system for the roof leaders and the driveway area between the garage and the roadway. So that was requested by the commission in the original approval as part of moving the project ahead. So the new house footprint has an appropriate infiltrator, well, two infiltrator systems to further reduce runoff, which goes to the same area. The runoff patterns initially were to the Smith Avenue way, which is currently undeveloped, just a vegetated strip of land, a paper street, as most people would call it. And so drainage patterns have been maintained, and the resulting runoff has been reduced by the two infiltration systems. I'll entertain any questions you might have about the plans.
Feel free, commissioners.
Well, having been out to the site several times and reviewing our first two meetings on this project way back in January, a couple of issues that were raised at those meetings at that time based on the original NOI was that the lot was not going to be clear cut. It was, the trees were only going to be removed in the allotted space of to put in the house. Subsequently, the lot has been cleared of all vegetation. There's not a tree left standing anywhere on the lot. At the second meeting, it was brought up, was there going to be fill brought in? And the answer was no, there will be no fill brought in. It will be whatever's excavated out for the cellar hole will be used to grade around the house. We also questioned at the original NOI because of going in from the street down to what would be the topographical grading at that point was going from 106 down to 102. And we were told that the driveway would just slope down slightly and would be at that 102 foot level. With the new plan, we're showing grade at 106 for the garage floor, which is even with the street grade of 106. Again, which is a concern that we had based on the original NOI. And having been out there as of last night, the amount of fill that's been brought into that lot is extremely overkill from my standpoint. And I'm estimating that at the high point, which is at the driveway level of the house adjacent on the right side as you're facing the lot, when we first went out there, there was probably around a 10 or 12 foot drop, steep grade from that driveway down to the level of that lot. The amount of sand that's been brought in some places, that fill is now over the top of the height of that other driveway. And I'm estimating as you stand to the right side of the lot, which would be approximately the right side of the driveway facing on the current plan, that grade right now has got to be at least 3 or 4 feet above the street grade. And it goes that way probably, I would say, almost half the distance across. And other comments I'm going to make are that the original footprint was 21 feet away from the upper driveway on the right side facing. And now it's been reduced to 15 feet. And the footprint has been increased by about 536 square feet from the original, which is considerable. And also you're proposing a 6 by 22 and 3/4 covered porch on the front and a 16 by 22 foot deck on the back. And I assume that deck is going to be raised. I assume I don't know. I haven't seen elevation plans of the proposed house or the schematics, but I'm assuming it's going to be a walkout basement and that'll be a raised deck above. But again, that's a large area that's being added to the back of the house.
Well, if I can respond to those comments, the amended plan reflects finished grades, and the stockpile soil is very hard to judge, but in this proposed construction, there will be soil removed beneath the basement floor. There'll be soil removed below the proposed garage because it's topsoil and subsoil that would be unsuitable for filling and pouring concrete. So the idea is to remove the unsuitable soil, refill and compact that area under the house and garage with the sand, and that sand will be used to backfill the inside of the garage after it's constructed. So we have in the garage alone, there's a total of 4 foot of fill to go in, but in reality, it would be a 6 foot fill if we remove a foot of topsoil and a foot of subsoil under the garage before starting construction. The site plan reflects finished grades and any excess soil, whether it be subsoil or loam or sand, any excess soil beyond what's shown on this grading plan would be removed from the site. The changes that were made on the right side of the lot adjacent to the driveway of the existing home will not affect in any way the drainage patterns from the existing home, existing driveway, and 15 feet separation complies with zoning requirements. Again, the reason we're submitting the amendment is that it's a new home with a grading plan that's required for that new home. On the low side of the house, facing Smith Avenue, that will not be a walkout. The existing grade is 97 on the low side. The basement floor will be 98.5, and the finished grade will be 102. So there's a 3-4 foot backfill against the low wall. So on the low side of the house, there's no walkout being created. It's a half foundation wall so that large windows can be installed at the basement level of the home. And again, in terms of drainage, the original concept was to maintain original drainage patterns which were in the direction of Smith Avenue. And that's been done with the new grading plan. The sand will be a subsoil which will absorb a lot more rainfall than the current rainfall, reducing runoff, and the infiltration systems planned will further reduce runoff. So I think in the end, even though the house is larger than the original one, the runoff patterns remain the same, and the amount of runoff will be the same or probably less, and there's no impact to any of the surrounding properties.
If I may just question something there. You're saying that the substrate and some soil in the garage is going to be removed. Am I to assume that it hasn't been removed yet?
Ralph?
Sorry?
The subsoil has been removed under the house and garage?
Yes. And all the sand that was brought in, and sand was brought in intentionally to help with absorption. I could have brought in regular fill, but I brought in sand to make sure that it absorbed tremendously. It's like sugar sand. It's almost Title V. That's how good it is. A lot of the sand, as Mike was saying, is being removed, and it needs to be installed inside the footings underneath the basement slab. And it also needs to fill a 2-car garage 8 feet tall. So a lot of this sand, a lot of this fill that was brought in is stockpiled, I will agree, but it is all stockpiled outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. And it's just waiting to be used to put into the garage and in underneath the basement slab. So whatever grades are being proposed, we are following the contour of the road. We're not going to be above the road. And there was never a 10-foot drop from the road down to in front of the house. I stood there myself. I'm 6'4", and there was maybe it was 6 feet, if that. So it wasn't a 10, 12-foot drop. I'm just saying I spent a lot of time there in the hole. It's just fill that's being used for around the footings and inside the footings and inside the garage. There was not enough fill on the property to even do any of that. That lot is absolutely set up for a walkout basement off the back. I mean, the grades just automatically create that, the existing grades.
Any other questions or comments from the board before we open it up to the public?
Yeah, I'd just like,
All right. Go ahead, Francis.
Do we have pictures of the original lot with all the trees? I visited before and after. And when I visited the original lot, which had all the trees and foliage, you know, all the plants there, the drop was more than 6 feet. Of course, now the whole footprint is already changed because the trees are gone, everything is gone. And I would like to see some proof that it wasn't 6 feet, it was a much heavier drop before all the trees were removed and the ground was completely, you know, moved around. Do we have those pictures, Craig?
I believe we have some pictures, but there, if you look at the drawing with the original notice of intent, you can see what was used for the existing grades. You know, and in the original notice of intent, there was some minor grade changes that were proposed.
Okay.
And those are by the dotted lines as opposed to the solid lines where the grade changes are the existing. So you should be able to check some of that there.
And didn't we ask that the trees not be removed?
I don't believe we required it. It was a statement. I don't believe it's in the order of conditions.
It wasn't in the order of conditions?
I do not believe so. It was just a statement.
If I may interject for a moment, because I was there during the removal of all the trees, that lot is 100 by 100. When taking into account all the setbacks, the majority of the trees were all within the building envelope of the house, the proposed house. And any other trees outside of the proposed building envelope were right up against the house. So that posed a threat to the structure of the house in the event that something was to happen anyways. If a tree was to fall, my daughter's kids would be getting crushed by a tree. So I just wanted to, you know, let everyone understand that there was very few trees outside of the building envelope, and the ones that were rather large, and they were right up against the building envelope.
A quick question.
Go ahead, Aaron.
I'm wondering if there are any future plans for like planting vegetation along the left side there of the house that borders the 50-foot buffer zone? Any type of planting is going to happen on the property?
I'm sorry, Aaron, are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm wondering if you guys are planning on
Well,
kind of adding some extra
the
vegetation along that slope.
the thought process, and again, it's a thought process, was to plant arborvitaes along that edge.
Okay.
Again, depending on what the town of East Long Meadow does with that property in terms of maintenance, is going to probably determine what we do in terms of you know, additional shrubbery.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make it known that if you are on Robin Street and you are looking down Smith Ave,
Yeah,
the paper portion of Smith Ave, down towards the back, you will see that there's an extremely large yard that is seeded and maintained by a homeowner that is well within the 25-foot buffer zone. As a matter of fact, it's right up against the wetlands. And it's all grass, it's all being maintained. Did I have that thought of possibly doing that? Yes, but we could do that with the approval of the Conservation Commission. But the town of Ludlow, I'm sorry, I just had a different meeting. Town of East Long Meadow maintains that 50-foot right-of-way. And there are sewer lines and water lines in there. So it kind of depends on what DPW is going to do in terms of maintenance. I'd have no problem putting seed down and cutting and maintaining it. I should say my son-in-law, not me. I'm retiring. From yard work, that is, from yard work.
Tom, you had a question?
Oh, yeah, well, I was just gonna have Mike speak to the existing soil that was on the property versus the sand that was brought in. And it appears to me like from the road to the new house, or from the neighbor to the right to the new house, it would have been a slightly negative grade. And with the fill that's brought in, it's maybe neutral or slightly positive. So I don't, as far as like impact, I think it's better with sand than with I'm guessing the soil was probably clay.
It was. East Long Meadow was all clay.
Right, so you got impermeable soil, you're bringing in sand, it's permeable. Your grade change, you went from maybe a -2 or 3 to maybe a neutral or a +2 or 3. So I just don't see any impact as far as the surrounding area. If any of the water is just going to permeate through the soil because it's sand now, rather than clay, and it's going to continue to flow in the underground as it has for centuries. Mike, is that correct?
Yes, the existing underlying soils are a heavy type soil with a lot of technically it's loamy sand and gravel, fairly compact, and does not absorb water as readily as sand would. The sand that's placed on the site will absorb rainfall and runoff in the magnitude of 4 to 10 times the existing condition. So it's much more absorbent and capable of storing rainfall in between storms. And the reduction in grade, in other words, from the right side of the home to the left side, the fill will reduce the grade. By reducing grade, we reduce runoff and allow for more rainfall absorption into the soil. So I think the combination of sand fill, reducing grade, and infiltrator systems will definitely reduce the amount of runoff that used to go to Smith Avenue.
Can you explain the difference between the infiltrator versus the original plan was a dry well, right? Drainage.
Well, they all work the same. They're hollow cavity. A dry well happens to be a concrete structure that's round, and the outside of it's backfilled with crushed stone so that the water can be stored and then released to the soil. The infiltrator is the new way of doing things. It's I'm sure you've seen them. They kind of look like plastic Quonset huts. They're set up in a row. They're hollow on the inside, providing storage for rainfall, and then it's backfilled with crushed stone, which allows for the soil to absorb that rainfall at the edge of the infiltrator. It's a better, technically, it's a better choice for this site.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to open it up to the public for comments. If you wish to comment, please raise your hand and state your name and address. And I know we had at least one out there.
Yep, just gotta raise your hand if you want to comment. Do you remember who it was? I'm not seeing any hands.
Cassidy, somebody like Jack Cassidy, I think.
I think it was a gentleman that lived on Patterson Ave.
There he is, James Cassidy, there he is.
Yeah.
Good evening, Mr. Cassidy.
How you doing?
Good, and yourself?
Pretty good. I don't know, Mike, as long as we don't get the water from the runoff, because the way it was before, we'd get a lot of water on the heavy rains. There was a lot of trees behind where the house was going to go. I sat on my deck, I watched the whole thing happen. They took out all the trees. There was many trees back there. I don't care, just as long as it doesn't cause a problem for us. You know, we're at this stage now. I didn't care to have it there. I like having that buffer, but we're here at this point, so. And then is his plan to take over the paper street like Dino Graziano did down the road?
If I may interject, no, that is not the plan.
I was gonna say, excuse me, Ralph, we should go through the chair.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Craig, if I may interject.
There is no plan right now to take over the paper street. I believe it's technically written in there that there might be something, if you abut it, you need to maintain halfway through the street, but
Yeah,
that is
that's what I
pretty much
understand.
something that is not enforced right now. The DPW does maintain that paper street as it exists right now. It was cut this springtime.
Yeah, well, can I speak again? I actually wouldn't mind. Somebody last night took down the 7th no dump sign. That's the 7th one I've had them put in. It's gone now, and they're starting to dump again already. So I called the DPW today, asked them if they come and replace the sign again. I thought about putting a camera on the pole up there to see if we could figure out who's doing it. That's 7 signs for no dumping, gone.
Wow,
That one only lasted a few months.
that's a shame.
Yeah, yeah. Just I have no problem as long as we don't have a problem with water over here on this side.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else from the public that wishes to comment? If so, please raise your hand.
Not seeing any.
Nobody out there, Ryan?
Nope.
All righty. At this point, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing, and then we'll bring it back to the board for discussion.
So moved.
Second,
All right, we need to do a roll call vote. Francis,
Yes,
Aaron,
Yes.
Tony,
yes,
Jeff,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
and I am a yes. All right, bringing it back to the board, one of the things I noticed on the plan that we really didn't discuss tonight is the change from tying the water and the sewer in on Robin Street to in on the paper street. And there's just a line shown on the drawing for doing that. But obviously we're getting closer. We're moving inside the 50-foot buffer zone with both of those connections. And I don't see anything on the drawing or anything in the letter talking about erosion controls and replanting and that sort of thing.
Well, if you'd like me to comment, I can show specific erosion control for those connections and reseeding of the area once it's backfilled. Keep in mind that the connections will be much less disrupted from the standpoint of not having to disturb any pavement. The area on Smith Avenue is very well vegetated, which protects it. It's just a closer, more natural way of making those connections. But I can show both the silt fence, construction procedure and reseeding following backfill and protection.
Yeah,
until
I
it's
appreciate
reseeding.
I would appreciate it. It's just something I noticed, and we really, just need to have it in there. And I understand that we're not talking about major excavation. We're talking a 2-foot wide trench, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Does anybody else on the board have any questions or comments? I did have one other one also that I noticed. In the northwest corner of the lot, in the original plan as it is shown, the erosion controls take pretty much a 90-degree turn, and it's shown about 20 feet of them going to the east. And those are not installed at this point. And so we need to get those installed out there.
We'll take care of it as soon as possible. Okay, Ralph?
Yes, I'm looking at the plan now, and I'm horrible with my directions here. So are we talking about the left side of a lot rear?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's an easy one.
Yes, it is.
And just to point out, on my visit there last night, the erosion controls right along the Robin Street in the front there are pretty messed up at the moment. Some of it's down and needs some attention.
We'll get that taken care of as well.
Any other questions or comments from the board? I guess my last one is I was a little skeptical about this in the beginning, but after looking at it a little further and remembering from when I was there earlier, I would tend to agree with Tom and Mr. Mockdown that putting the sand in here will hopefully result in actually less water going down into the wetland that the neighbors were concerned about, that the wetland was increasing in size. So I really don't have any issues with the new proposal, and we'll put our faith in Ralph and Mike to do a good job moving forward. Any other comments from the commission? Questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the amendments to DEP file number 1500448 for Robin Street and Smith Avenue.
So moved.
Second.
Did you have a question, Francis? Any comments?
Okay, when are we going to, is that we do now, put in the part about the amended plan? Are we gonna, no, we're not gonna, because this doesn't show a deck in the back, does it? The plan that we have?
The amended plan does.
Yes, the larger paper that came in the packet.
Sorry, okay. That's it. I didn't have it in front of me.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll take another roll call vote. Francis,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Tom. Tom?
Yes, sorry.
And,
You fall asleep, Tom?
and I am a yes also. All right, good luck, gentlemen.
Hey, thank you.
All righty. Next item on the agenda was project monitoring and see project sheet. If we could start getting those emailed to us on a regular basis, Bethany, it would be good so we can update those.
Sure. I actually have, so just really quickly, Nina Fazia, the new intern, started on Monday, and one of her big responsibilities is compiling your site visit findings into one document so we can have a solid project monitoring Excel document. So if you do have any site visit findings that you'd like recorded,
We lost you. We lost you. Brian, we lost her audio.
Yep. Guess we're gonna start getting that when the intern starts on Monday is the gist that I got of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Project monitoring, you know, we went out and did the site visit last night for the certificate of compliance. Then we took a drive through Bella Vista. It looks pretty good in there. He's got tracking pads in there. The street was pretty clean. The retention basin looks good. But other than that, I did not have a lot of project monitoring because it really hasn't rained in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else has anything for that.
Tony and I went to Robin Smith after Bella Vista, but you know, I already made the comments on that. So I don't know if anybody took a look at 101 Old Farm. Now that he's got the loam in, he sent in pictures. I didn't swing by there yet, but from the pictures, it looked pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't look at it. Okay. All right, next one is policies and procedures of the commission. I guess my only comment for that would be we can't open town hall soon enough.
Amen to that.
Anybody have any comments or anything with that?
Yes.
Go ahead, Francis.
Could I ask if Bethany could put the date of the agenda so this wouldn't happen again? In other words, the agenda that I got in the mail didn't have the date that it was made. So I didn't know when I got the other one that it was different. So
usually I have draft written on it somewhere, but I'll try to make it more clear.
Thank you.
Francis, do you know how to go in under the town website and pull up agendas?
I do, but because this just came this morning, I thought it was the most recent one. You know, I didn't know when it was mailed, so.
Oh.
It doesn't say draft.
It's funny because I got mine Monday. You didn't get yours until today.
Yeah.
Oh, the second page says draft. I see it. But not the first. Okay. All right, we'll get it straight.
Okay.
One more thing. This is an online procedure thing. So as long as we're doing these Zoom meetings, could we be reminded that we should mute ourselves if we're making noises? Like, you know, if I take this paper, right, while somebody's speaking, I heard that. And also if like Tony's calling in, I don't know if you realize, Tony, that the cell phone magnifies any background noises. So we could hear some of your background stuff. So if we're gonna be, you know, doing things or there's noises that we can't avoid, like a phone rings or something happens, just mute yourself, especially when somebody's talking. And if they don't mute themselves, Craig can mute them, right? You can mute all of us when someone's talking. That might help, Craig.
I don't, Ryan does.
Yeah,
Oh, Ryan could do it. Okay. I just, I didn't know if people knew that you could really hear everything.
Can you hear me, Fran?
Yes, I can hear you, Tony.
Are you implying that I have a big mouth?
No. I'm hearing a lot of different background noises during the meeting, so it's not just.
I'm actually whispering.
Well, you're loud and clear. Welcome to the meeting.
Okay, next I'll entertain a motion to move into executive session to come back to discuss the open meeting law complaint, to come back to open session only to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, roll call vote. Francis,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Wake them up.
Jeff,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
and I am a yes also.